So, good afternoon, classmate, and good afternoon, Ms. Ramirez. The chapter we chosen is Chapter 14, entitled Government Peace Treaties with Muslim Filipinos. The next page is Members. So, the first reporter is Pusod Love Joy C, which is me. The second reporter is Gabas Jobert B. And the next one is Sidro Anthony L. And the last one is Apolinar Maria Jeneling B. And the next page is, it talks about objectives. The number one objectives is explain the factors which lead to the unending conflict among Muslim Filipinos. And the number two objectives give recommendation on how to finally end armed conflicts between Christian and non-Christian Filipinos. Sa objective, ang Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao o tinatawag na ARMM ay natatagpuan sa loob ng Pilipinas at unang itinatag noong 1989 o 1989 ay binubuo ng 5 lalawigan. Ito ay Maguindanao, Lanao del Sur, Basilan, Sulu at Tawi-Tawi. Ang alitan sa pagitan ng mga grupong Moro na naghahanap ng isang malayang estado sa Mindanao at ang Government of the Philippines o tinatawag na GPH ay nagpapatuloy sa loob ng 4 na dekada. In the next page, the armed conflict in Mindanao reflects the never-ending call for the fulfillment of the right to self-determination of the Muslim population in the Philippines in order to obtain sustainable peace. Running for almost 40 years of on and off fighting between Muslim armed opposition group and the Philippine military forces, and the resulting high toll on human lives. The research for sustainable peace and full respect for human rights remain a big challenge. The root cause of armed conflict in Mindanao can be found in the narrative Mindanao people's continuing struggle for their right to self-determination. A struggle that involves an assertion of their identity and demand for meaningful governance in the face of the national government's failure to realize genuine social progress and peace and development in the southern Philippines. Moro National Liberation Front or MNLF and Moro Islamic Liberation Front or MILF. Sabi rito, ang mga armadong tunggalian sa Mindanao ay sumasalamin sa walang katapusang panawagan para sa katuparan ng karapatan sa sariling pagpasya ng populasyon ng mga Muslim sa Pilipinas upang makamit ang napapanatiling kapayapaan. Tumatakbo sa halos 40 years ng on and off fighting sa pagitan ng Muslim armed opposition groups at ng mga pwersang militar ng Pilipinas at ang resultang mataas na toll sa buhay ng tao. Ang paghanap para sa napapanatiling kapayapaan at buong paggalang sa karapatang pantao ay nananatiling malaking hamon pa rin. Ang armadong labanan na ito ay nagsimula noong huling bahagi ng 1960s ng isang Muslim armed group o Moro National Liberation Front ay nagsimulang magsulong para sa isang Moro homeland na tinatawag. Ang gobyerno ng Pilipinas ay tumugon sa pamamagitan ng militar na nagresulta ng marami pagkamatay ng mga tao at paglipat ng mga populasyon sa sibilyan. Noong 1970s, nagsimula ang gobyerno ng Pilipinas sa usapang pangkapayapaan na nagkasundo sa kapayapaan sa pangunahing Muslim Armed Opposition Group o MNLF upang itigil ang tunggalian at tugunan ang mga problema. Ngunit ang mga armadong komprontasyon ay sumisiklab paminsan-minsan sa pagitan ng militar ng Pilipinas at ng MNLF at gayon din ng isa pang armadong grupo ng oposisyon na tinatawag na Muslim Moro Islamic o tinatawag ng Muslim na Moro Islamic Liberation Front o MILF. Sa bawat pagsiklab ng armadong labanan, libo-libong hindi manlalaban ang nahuhuli sa labanan at dumaranas ang displacement at iba pang paglabag sa karapatang pantao. Upang bigyan diin ang kanilang malalim na pakiramdam ng kalayaan bilang isang tao, maraming mga Muslim sa Mindanao ang sama-samang tumawag sa kanilang sarili na Moro, ang salitang ginagamit ng kolonyal na pamahalaang Espanyol upang tukuyin ang mga Muslim na tao.
Hello ma'am, my name is Robert Gabas and my report was about roots of the conflict. Studies made by the Philippine Human Development Report and list of the following major historical and contemporary roots of the conflict in Mindanao. Number 1. The first of all, illegal annexation of more land of the Philippines under the Treaty of Paris in 1898. Number 2, military pacification by the American colonial government. Number 3, imposition of confiscatory and loss. Number 4, Indigenization or Filipinization of public administration in Moroland and the destruction of traditional political instructions. Number 5, government finance induced land settlement and migration to Moroland. Number 6, land grabbing conflicts. Number 7, cultural inroads against the Moros. Number 8, the Habida massacre in 1968, killing of Muslims army recruits by their superiors. Number 9, Ilaga, Christian vigilante and military atrocities in 1970 to 1972 and the government neglect and inaction on Moro protests and grievances. The Muslims resented the loss of their lands, including those idle but which form part of their traditional community. This resentment grew as Muslims witnessed the usurpation by Christian settlers of vast tracts of prime lands. This ignited disputes between them and the Christian settlers. The question on land ownership and land disputes between Muslims and Christians was crucial during the post-war period. The next reporter is Sidro Anthony.
Hi, I am Anthony Alcidro and I'm about to discuss about the Peace Initiative. So, Peace Initiative. Let's go first to the word Peace Initiative. So, based on my research, Peace Initiative is the first or opening move in negotiating an end to conflict or negotiating a peace. So basically, ang peace initiative rather is isang kasunduan para sa kapayapaan ng isang lugar. So, noong 1970s daw, nagkaroon ng armed conflict na bumuo ng major crisis sa Mindanao. Tapos noong December 1976, ang Philippine government ay gumawa ng isang agreement kasama ang MNLF sa pamamagitan ng Organization of Islamic Conference or OIC. Ang agreement na ito ay mas kilala bilang 1976 Tripoli Agreement, kabilang ang Mindanao at Palawan at kasama din dito ang 13 probinsya. Kasama rin dito ang pagbuo ng isang utos mula ng government judicial system para sa Sharia law at ang Special Security Forces. Noong namang 1977, si dating Pangulong Ferdinand E. Marcos at Batasang Pambansa ay naglabas ng isang series of law para ito'y ipatupad na 1976 only agreement. Ito ay resulta ng pagbuo ng Sangguniang Pampuok o mas kilala natin bilang isang regional council sa bawat rehiyon ng 9 at rehiyon ng 12 sa Mindanao at ang solusyon na ito ay hindi tinanggap ng MNLF. Noong 1987, ang Philippine Constitution ay naghain na naman ng bagong legal basis para sa mga Muslim autonomous government sa Mindanao. Mayroon itong provision na Article 10 para sa mga autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao. At noong 1990, ang ARMM ay nabuo upang protektahan ng mga probinsya ng Lanao del Sur, Maguindanao, Siargao Kabunsuan, Sulu at Tawi-Tawi. At ang kanya-kanyang representasyon ay direktang bumoto para sa inklusyon upang maging bagong region. Nagkaroon na naman ng peace talk noong 1993 sa pamamagitan ng OIC at ng Indonesian government. Ang Philippine government at ang MILF ay pumirma noong 1996 at ito ay binansagang final peace agreement. At para makumpleto ang Tripoli Agreement ng government ng Pilipinas at ng Moro National Liberation Front, ang 1996 agreement ay tinawag na Special Zone of Peace and Development at ang pagsasani pwersa ng MNLF at ng Philippine Military noong 2001. Ang batas ay hindi wasto upang maitungo sa direktang pagboto ng iba pang probinsya na may predominant Muslim population kasama na ang ARMM, ang Basilan at ang Marawi ay sumali sa grupo ng ARMM bilang isang resulta. Sa pamamagitan ng pagkapanalo noong 1996 sa halalan para sa mga posisyon sa ARMM, ang MNLF ay halos kumuha ng kapangyarihan mula noong 1996 sa 6 na probinsya at isang lungsod na may pangunahing populasyon ng Muslim. Ang Autonomous Region formula ay hindi kumpleto ng solusyon para sa kapayapaan sa Mindanao. Ang MILF ay nagdemand ng isang independent Islamic state sa Pilipinas at ang Philippine government ay kailangang makipag-deal upang maayos ito sa MILF. Ang Philippine government at ang MILF ay nagumpisa ng isang peace talk negotiation para sa isang political settlement noong 1996. At ito ay sinuportahan ng mga bansang Malaysia, Indonesia at Libya upang magkaroon ng GRP-MILF Tripoli Agreement of 2001. Ang GRP-MILF Tripoli Agreement of Peace ng 2001 na pirmahan noong May 7, 2002 sa Putrajaya, Malaysia upang mapanatili ang kapayapaan. Kinakailangan ang tatlong mekanismo na ang Joint Coordinating Committee of the Cessation of Hostilities. Pangalawa ay ang International Monitoring Team na binubuo ng mga representatives mula sa Malaysia, Brunei, Darussalam at Libya. At ang huli ay ang Ad Hoc Joint Action Group. Ito ay ang tatlong nagpapanatili ng kapayapaan sa ating bansa. Nagpapatuloy ang peace negotiation ng Philippine government at MILF na nagresulta ng 2008 Memorandum of Agreement of the Ancestral Domain aspect of the Philippine government and MILF Tripoli Agreement of Peace of 2001. Ang 2008 Memorandum of Agreement ay nagbigay ng isang dilanasyon ng Bangsamoro Homeland. Ito ay katulad ng dilanasyon ng Ancestral Domain of Indigenous Filipino. Ito ay bumuo ng Bangsamoro Juridical Entity o mas kilalang BGE, kung saan ang legal body ang mamumuno sa Bangsamoro Homeland. Ang Philippine government at MILF ay nakita ang 2008 memorandum na ito ay kailangan para sa steps papuntang final peace agreement. Pero bago pa mapirmahan ang 2008 Memorandum of Agreement of the Ancestral Domain aspect of the Philippine government and MILF Tripoli Agreement of Peace of 2001 noong August 5, 2008 sa Kuala Lumpur, ito ang ginawang legality nito ay ang Christian bago ang Philippine Supreme Court. Ang Philippine government ay nagdesisyong wag pirmahan ng agreement dahil sa oposisyon ng race ng ilang Christian local government leaders sa Mindanao at ng iba pang political personalities Ang korte ay dineklara na ang 2008 Memorandum Agreement of Ancestral Domain ay hindi napirmahan at ito ay isang unconstitutional noong October 2008. Ang korte ay nakita na ang 2008 Memorandum of Agreement and Trail Domain ay parang isang estado kaysa sa isang autonomous region na pinayagan ng 1987 Constitution for the ARMM governing body. Ang susunod na magre-report ay si Jeneline Apolinar.
I'm Maria Jeneline B. Apolinar, one of the reporters of peace initiatives. The failure of the Philippine government to sign the Memorandum of Agreement on Ancestral Domain led to a new round of armed hostilities in late 2008, causing death to a number of people and displacing thousands more. Nevertheless, the Memorandum of Agreement on Ancestral Domain is just one step on the long road to peace in Mindanao. The peace negotiations between the Philippine government and the MILF will continue, eventually deal with the existing legal structures brought by the agreements with the MNLF. Whatever final peace settlement is reached by all parties, the Philippine government, the MNLF, and the MILF, the international human rights standards should form a crucial part of both the process and content of achieving it. Peace without human rights is not a final peace settlement. Aquino and leaders of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front witnessed the signing of the agreement in the Presidential Palace in Manila. Malaysia's Prime Minister Najib Razak, whose country brokered the peace talks, attended the ceremony. The peace accord concludes formal negotiation that began in 2001. A ceasefire agreement had been in place since 1997 and has been largely observed by both sides. Previous presidents tried but failed to resolve the conflict, which has stunned growth in the region and helped to foster Islamic extremism in the country and elsewhere in Southeast Asia. Based on my research, the Moro conflict is an interest of the entire Filipino nation, and it should be consulted according to Executive Order Number 3 from 2001, necessitating two levels of consultation, local and national. It is unknown what this represents at this time, even if the result of the Consult Mindanao were useful included into a peace deal. The opposition, who would still like to maintain the status quo, would insist that the entire Filipino country be consulted because it is a question of national interest and integrity. Based on Executive Order Number 3, this could result in a new Supreme Court case and new judgment against a document in the peace process. The ramification would be far more severe than last time, as it appears that the peace panels can only generate unconstitutional documents, although this is unsurprising given that they are negotiating outside of the constitutional framework. It is significant in terms of public perception of the conflict, may contribute to delegitimize the peace process along negotiation lines, prompting the GRP to emphasize military action more. An existing of 5-province Muslim autonomous region is to be replaced by a more powerful, better founded, and potentially larger region to be called as Bangsamoro. The negotiations between the two parties and the mediator, Malaysia, were held in secret, and the public was not even informed of any successes or interim results. The Memorandum of Agreement on Ancestral's Domain was likewise expected to be signed without document being publicized first. This should not happen in a democracy since the people have a right to know what their representatives are up to. Thank you.